Eloge Wilikaneza, and this is Amjambo Time, a space where we listen to the voices of immigrants from all walks of life. Today, we focus on an urgent and a deeply human story, the experiences of asylum seekers facing arrest, detentions, and family separations in Maine and beyond. In this episode, I speak with Martha Stein, Executive Director of Hope Acts, a Portland nonprofit supporting asylum seekers. She shares first-hand accounts of what people endure in ICE custody, the harsh conditions, inadequate food, limited hygiene, and the mental toll of isolation and uncertainty. Through her eyes, we hear about the resilience of those navigating an often cruel system and the work organizations like Hope Acts do to provide legal and emotional support. Martha Stein reminds us these are not criminals. They are people with families, dreams, and responsibilities. Every case represents a human life, and every story deserves attention. I'm Jamba Africa today with Martha Stein. For those who don't know you, Martha, who is Martha?
Thank you. So I'm Martha Stein. I'm the Executive Director of Hope Acts, which is a nonprofit organization in Portland that serves asylum seekers.
Martha, Hope Acts is currently handling over 50 active cases. How does this compare to previous years?
So we have 50 clients that we know of who have been taken by ICE. That's since the beginning of this administration. Previous years, for us, it was unheard of. I can't think of a single case that anyone came into our office about, and this is because I believe asylum seekers are people who follow the laws. They have done everything correctly, filled out all the paperwork, filed all their paperwork, so they are not criminals by and large, and so this was never an issue that we worked on before.
Have you noticed a recent increase in ICE arrests in Maine? If yes, when did this trend begin?
So it really started once the Trump administration came into office this term. Compared to his first term, there was nothing like this. And I was the executive director at Hope Acts during the first Trump administration, and there was nothing like this going on. For us, probably, I'd have to look back in my notes, probably maybe February is when we started seeing ICE arrests happen, and it's been nonstop ever since.
What patterns do you see in how and where people are being taken into custody these days?
So a lot of what we're seeing is people who are told they have to report to the ICE office in Scarborough for something, and people go because they follow the rules and laws, and they know if they don't go, that will be cause for deportation. So a lot of people are just being taken. They go for their appointment, think, for a check-in is what they're told, and then they're detained right there and then. A lot of cases of people being pulled over while they're driving, either to or from work, pulled over for no real reason, and they are arrested then.
Have any of these the arrests involved parents being detained with their children?
So until yesterday, all of the people we knew about were men who were detained. Yesterday, we read about a family detained, and we did have someone in our office earlier in the week who was very, very scared that was going to happen to them. I don't know if it's the same family that has been pretty widely reported about on social media. I think it is, but I'm not positive.
Do families receive any prior notice, or these arrests typically sudden?
For most people, it seems pretty sudden. We know of several cases where someone has gotten a call by ICE and the call says, you have to come to the office tomorrow for a check-in, and that tomorrow could be Saturday or Sunday even. So it is, there is not notice, and then of course for all the arrests that are happening on the road, no notice at all.
From what you know, individuals being detained during routine check-ins, home visits, workplace operations, or other circumstances. I think you touched these, but can you explain more?
Yeah, so it is, again, what we've seen is mostly on the road and people going to ICE check-ins. Don't forget that these ICE agents, they don't want a big confrontation. They're not, what we've been told, we'll see what happens, and we're watching what happens across the country, is it's much easier for them to make someone come to an ICE check-in and then they just take the person right there and then, or pull someone to the side of the road than to go to a workplace and cause all kinds of chaos and lots of witnesses and things like that. There's always the fear that's going to happen, and so every workplace that I know of is, trying to plan and mitigate risks around that. But it's much easier for them just to take a person off the road or when they're at the ICE office already.
Are asylum seekers with pending cases or work permits also being arrested?
Everyone, it seems, can be a target, sadly. So it is people with pending cases, people with work permits. We know people who have actually won their asylum cases and they're still being detained because the government has decided that they want to contest that. Even after the person has won, they want to contest it. We've heard of people who have been, who are so far through the process being detained. And so these are people with zero criminal records, have been vetted over and over again. Many have been through the system, the immigration system, and checked all the boxes along the way. Others have been here for a couple of years or a really long time, and their cases have never come up. And yet they have followed all the laws and rules. They're working really hard, often at more than one job, paying taxes, raising their kids. So sadly, it seems like anybody who is an immigrant, and we know anybody with not white skin seems to be a target of this administration.
Martha, what are you hearing from clients, for example, about the living conditions inside ICE facilities?
So we've heard things are pretty bad. First of all, even before they get to wherever they're going to be taken, people are shackled like they're murderers or thugs. So in the ICE office, and a few people have described this to me, they have handcuffs, they have leg shackles and a waist shackle like they're a murderer. And it's, it's painful, it's humiliating. So that in and of itself is so appalling to me. Then what has been described to me is people are taken from, let's say they start in the ICE office, and I know there's a lot of variation as to what can happen. They're taken to Burlington, Massachusetts for processing. I have been told that people sleep on the floor there, that it is, they're not told very much about what's going on. Someone described to me conditions in one of the ICE facilities in New England as being freezing cold, like blasting cold air all the time into the facility, so everybody is very, very cold. The food is terrible, and it's mostly just, people are just, they're treated like they are a horrible criminal who has done something really wrong and really egregious. And even criminals don't deserve to be tortured.
Mm-hmm. This leads us to the next question. Are there particular concerns about food, medical care, hygiene, or access to legal support?
So I have been told that they are fed, but the food is horrible. But you have no choice, of course, but to eat it. I have not heard about lack of medical care, but it could certainly be happening. So I don't know any specifics. We work with several groups who are raising funds for legal services and Mainers for Humane Immigration. They are a small all-volunteer group that provides commissary funds for people in detention. So we make sure that everybody gets a commissary account, and that is to make phone calls. They can also buy food, and they can buy a coat, which is ridiculous that they have to buy a coat, but after their own things were taken away from them. We were told at the one facility, though, the commissary delivery is only every 2 weeks. So the person said, well, I ordered a coat. I only had it for a few days. And because they got bond and got out, he gave the coat to somebody else who was still there.
Now, specifically, how are detained children and their families treated based on reports you've heard?
I don't know. As I said, what we see is it's been all men who have been picked up. Those are with our clients, other than this case we just learned about the other day. But it's absolutely devastating for the family, emotionally and financially. Often the father is either the sole breadwinner in the family, or the husband and wife work different shifts, so one can always be taking care of the children. So when all of a sudden the dad is gone, it's horrifying, traumatizing, and all of a sudden, in addition to all of that, how is the rent going to get paid? How do we buy our food? How do we exist?
How detainees expressed concerns about mental health, isolation, or lack of information about their cases? Isolation or lack of information about their own cases.
So are you talking about people who are detained, or people who are just in the community who are just scared in general? Which are you talking about?
Both.
So people who are detained, of course, everybody needs a lawyer. So if we back up to that, I think the most important thing everyone can do is get an immigration attorney. Even if you don't have anything happening right now, you need to have a relationship with an immigration attorney. Even if they say to you, oh, I don't have any openings for 2 months, I can book you then. Take it, because you have to have an immigration attorney. And if the worst case happens and your family starts scrambling to find someone, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to find someone quickly and also find someone who can prepare to your case and to represent you. So that's the top thing. I have been told, you asked about kind of the trauma and fear. So for people who are detained, I've been told, there are posters up all over the facility encouraging people to self-deport, and a lot of pressure on people to do that. What has been described to me is basically they wake you up very early in the morning to eat, and you're mostly just like sitting around all day, and so you have time to be in your head, which is not, cannot be good. That said, there are so many people detained now that there is there are communities within these facilities with the men supporting each other. For the community as a whole, and I, as a white person, I can't possibly express how people are feeling, but there is what I perceive and hear is a constant stress, constant fear, constant uncertainty, lots of people with headaches and stomach aches and high blood pressure, and I don't have data to support all that, but it seems that both physical and mental health is being impacted.
Many of these things, I think you've already touched them, because I wanted to ask if what barriers make it difficult for families to navigate the legal process while in custody?
Oh gosh, I think even the process is so complicated, even for Americans who speak and read and are educated in English and are somewhat familiar with the system. And now things are changing so fast that there's new rules and procedures coming out all the time that you have to stay on top of. Again, that's why it's so important that everyone has a trusted immigration attorney, and that information is only shared from vetted legal organizations and legal sources. So it's really problematic that people will go on social media, or even well-meaning people try to provide advice or guidance. We can't do that. We have to go to the experts, because we do hear, somebody will call or text frantically, oh, I heard this is happening or that's happening, and usually it's wrong. You can understand why people are grabbing onto that and are becoming even more fearful, because fear and confusion is how things work now.
Martha, are there delays in case hearings, credible fear interviews, or communication with lawyers?
So there's a lot of chaos. Things change a lot. One reason is because the rules are changing so fast. The administration has fired a lot of people, and all of this is public information. Also, the attorneys are absolutely swamped with cases, and so my understanding is sometimes, and I am not a lawyer, so that they might be able to ask the court for a change, but it doesn't seem like there's rhyme or reason for anything. So some people's cases seems like they're fast-tracked and they're happening really fast, and other people are getting delays. So I don't know. I don't know if there is something systematically happening there, but we encourage everyone to check their case at least once a week by phone or online. And that's something everyone should be doing, just in case. You don't want to miss anything. And you have, like, missing a hearing it puts you even further into a hole in terms of having a favorable outcome for your case.
On organizational response, what support is Hope Acts providing to detained individuals and their families?
So every case is different. Every case is heartbreaking. And so we focus on whatever is presented to us by either a family member or a pastor or a friend who comes in asking for help. If they have an attorney, like that is, they need to get in touch with that person right away. We, connect people to the I think there's 4 or 5 or maybe even more legal funds that are out there. We let people know about if we've heard about attorneys who might have availability. We can't recommend a lawyer. We don't know who has availability, but usually word of mouth. We hear sometimes we can give a list to people and say, you can try to call one of these. We don't know what will happen. We coordinate with the schools if there's children involved. GA office if the family is on GA or they need to go on to GA. So it's a wide range of things, and depending again on how much other support the family has, how much English they speak, all of those things come into play. So there's not a one size fits all. Another really important thing that I want to mention is, and this is for people who either drive to the ICE office or get picked up. We are having it's difficult to get cars back. It used to be you could like get a family member to write a letter that would say, oh, I've given this person permission to go pick up my car, and the other day they refused and got very threatening to one of my employees. So one of the things that we do is we have a big volunteer group, and we can always use more volunteers for this, and there's no good way to say this, is we need white American citizens to drive people to the ICE office, to appointments, to Boston, to Chelmsford. We do not want people going alone. We do not want people asking a family member or another immigrant to take them, because we have cases where the friend comes perhaps to deliver documents on behalf of the person being arrested, and then the friend is taken as well. Yeah, it's horrifying, and it's like it feels grotesque to even say, oh, let's have white people do this job, but that's sadly where we are. The good news is there's a lot of community members who want to help, and we are always looking for more volunteers who will do that. We'll drive people so they don't have to go alone. So that is, that's one thing that's kind of taken. I don't know if it's one case or it's a new trend where they've decided to make it harder for the helpers in the community to get the vehicles back. So my practical advice would be get somebody, if you have to go, if you have an appointment, get someone to drive you. They will not let the American person in, but only bring in the papers that they told you must bring in. do not bring in like a wallet full of money and credit cards and your work permit and things like that. Just the documents that said you must bring. Leave everything else either at home or with the person in the car. And that way, if the worst thing happens, which would be detention, at least most of your important documents are protected.
Mm-hmm. Has the surge in cases, strained your capacity as an organization?
Has it strained our capacity? The work has shifted a lot. We would much, much rather be helping people get into housing, work on getting really great jobs, like moving up the economic, in scale instead of like dealing with emergencies all the time. So it is, there are times when the capacity is strained for sure. And one case can take, hours and hours and hours of human labor, making phone calls, writing letters, all that kind of thing. So it's really stressful for our staff and volunteers, as well as for the clients. It takes a toll. We are human. We're not clinicians. So we have to really make sure to take care of ourselves so we can take care of everybody else.
Martha, if you could speak directly to ICE leadership, what would you want them to hear?
Well, there's a lot I would say, but that's not fit for the radio. This really the legacy that you want for yourself? Is this how you want to be remembered, as a thug, a terrorist, a bully? And if the answer is really yes, I feel really sad for you, because you are missing out on really wonderful, joyous things in life, which includes getting to know people from all over the world, from all different cultures and backgrounds. You're missing out. So think about it, and we'd love to see all of you quit. If not, do your job in a way that causes the least harm possible.
I think you've also touched this already, but what additional resources or support do you need from the state, local community, and the donors, of course?
Of course, yes. So we all are hoping and needing that our Governor Mills to sign LD 1971, which I don't know the exact words of it, but basically that state police, Maine police, will not call ICE on people, and that happens quite a bit now, where they pull someone over and then the local police call ICE, and it varies widely by community and area. So that's one. Second is we need everyone to be continually calling our congressional our congressional delegation and letting them know that this is not okay. Third, of course, financial help, always as a nonprofit. We have to raise all of our money every year as a 501c3 organization. It's very, very labor-intensive work. And we need more people to be aware of what's happening, share credible information, and keep fighting back. So we look for people to sign up for the verifier and response training that's being coordinated through the Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition. We need volunteer drivers, like I mentioned, and people who are willing to be those helpers in in the neighborhood and out in the community. So I always tell people there's lots and lots of things they can do to help, and I am always happy to talk to anyone because people have different means. Some people have a lot of money, some people have a lot of time, other people like really are great at doing advocacy work, some are great at everything. And so when people will often say, what can I do to help? And there's a lot to do. And so it is that conversation that we can have and figure out where to plug people in. We're really, really fortunate. We have about 80 volunteers with Hope Acts and only 11 staff members. Some have been with us for more than 10 years, almost since we started, because they believe the work that we're doing is so important, that they believe immigrants should be welcome here in Maine, and of course we need immigrants here in Maine, but there's always more need, and I think any nonprofit right now would tell you there's so much need, and I would say to someone, if I don't have what you are looking for, there's so many fabulous organizations out there. I can refer you to someone else. And so together we can make change happen.
Martha, in your view, what changes are most urgently needed in how ICE handles arrest and detention?
They should not be arresting people who have not committed any crimes. I mean, that's step one, is let the immigration system work. Hire instead of fire competent people as judges, as people who can process process work permits. Let people just, let people have a fair hearing in the court system. Arresting people, terrorizing them, treating law-abiding human beings as criminals is ridiculous. It's really expensive, and it's just cruel.
You said this, but let me insist on this also. What message would you want state leaders and the Maine's federal delegation to hear from you?
What message would I want them to hear?
Yeah, from you.
Use your power, use your platform, use your voice, use your votes to stop all of this and bring our country back to what most of us believe it should be. Most of us believe the principles it was founded on. Remember that these are human beings. We get very lost in numbers. I get lost in numbers sometimes, but every single person is a human being who should be treated with respect, dignity, and have and fairness. So those things are not happening right now, and that is a stain on this country's history. And please be part of making it change.
Is there any, a particular case or experience that illustrates the human cost of these detentions? I know everyone, does illustrate that, but is there, in your view, a particular case or experience that illustrates the human cost of these detentions?
Well, it's going to be all different. I imagine there is some data out there. If I look at a family that I know about, so first there is so if you're talking about dollars and cents and not psychological and trauma cost, when, the dad is taken and there's multiple children in the house, the family cannot support themselves financially. So all of a sudden they're back to applying for assistance. In this particular case, the family was completely financially dependent. Both parents were working. The dad finally got out because he's not a criminal, so they have huge legal bills to pay, bond fees to pay, supporting the cost of the family. And in a lot of cases, people lose their jobs, they're losing their homes, their cars have disappeared. We are dealing with cases where the contents of people's wallets, including their work permit, was taken, and this particular one has happened, and more than once, where when their personal belongings are returned, the work permit was not returned, and so the person can't work. So now, even though they're out, they have to apply for a new work permit, which is taking a long time. That's a whole other story about how all of that has changed. So, you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, not to mention the system costs of what our federal government is choosing to spend money on instead of helping, on arresting and detaining people and sending them all over the country. That is another piece we didn't talk about. So I can't put a dollar figure on it, but it's a staggering cost, and it's the cost per person, per family is very, very high.
What does this particular moment, reveal about the state of the U.S. immigration system? What does it reveal?
It is broken. It was broken before, and it's being intentionally made worse. And so I am hopeful that those people fighting back, like ACLU and national immigration organizations and human rights organizations who are winning in courts. There are a lot of really important wins, but this is not a sustainable system. It's not a fair system. It's not a just system. It is not. And when your own government is breaking its own laws, it's scary and tragic.
Martha, there's also these questions about transfers out of Maine. Mm-hmm. How often are Maine residents being transferred to detention facilities outside the state?
So most of the detentions that we've experienced, the people are taken almost immediately out of the state. And if you read some of what's happening around the Cumberland County Jail, most of the immigrants who are there are not Maine residents. And so one of the tactics of the administration is to move people all over the country, sometimes multiple times, because it keeps it's part of the cruelty and fear. It keeps people farther away from their attorneys and the court system that the attorney knows the best, and it keeps everyone kind of guessing. So one of the earliest cases that we worked with earlier this year is the two different people in this particular case were taken to New Hampshire, facility there. Then they were taken, put on a plane, taken off the plane, the next day put on the plane again, and taken to a southwestern detention facility. So we as a community, and this is with a lot of people, this is way beyond Hope Acts, it's with the school, it's with other partners, it's with people who know the family, pastors. We kind of went into this scramble to find support networks in, let's say it's Texas or Louisiana or somewhere like that. So, and is there a lawyer that is better, that knows this particular court where the immigrant's case is now being transferred to? So it gets way more emotionally difficult and stressful and challenging. Of course, it's really expensive for the government, and it puts even an additional strain on the lawyers, because they could have a client who's in New Hampshire, and then the system can decide, oh, we're moving this person or that person to wherever. So then their case has to get reestablished. So it is part of the cruelty, and it's appalling. So that is one thing that people really need to know about. I can't put a price tag on that, but it's got to be costing the government a fortune. It makes no sense other than to keep people terrorized.
Are these transfers based on bed space, enforcement priorities, or something else?
We don't know, because one person, they can take a group of people out of one facility and bring the same day, bring new people in. They just do, it seems to be random, but I have no idea. And this is another reason that, it's so important that people have an attorney, because the attorneys have some leverage to keep up with where their clients are going. I have, one thing that people don't know is most of these cases are being conducted online. You can watch a hearing. You can log in and watch a hearing, and I've done that in support of people that I care about and know about. And the judge will call on a case, and so in this one particular hearing, they were hearing cases in Plymouth, Massachusetts, ICE facility, and I think Stratford, New Hampshire was the other one. And on 2 different days, I saw this happen, where the judge calls up the case and the lawyers online, and the personnel at the ICE facility will come on camera and say, oh, they're not here. And the judge says, what do you mean they're not there? Oh, well, they took them last night somewhere else. So then, it's confusion, and hopefully the person is then found somewhere else. But if the couple times I've logged on, I have seen this, I imagine it happens quite a bit. Again, stressful, wasteful, cruel.
To get the picture, what should the public understand about what it means for a person from Maine, for example, to suddenly be detained 2,000 miles away?
So they are completely cut off from their lawyer, their community. I can't say if one ICE facility is worse than the other. I imagine that is true. It also means if they're lucky enough to get bond and get out of the ICE facility, they have to find a way home. And that is stressful and very expensive too.
I know you engage with people who have been released. What conditions are they in, emotionally, physically, even financially? I think some of these, you mentioned,
People are, I don't know what's going on behind what I see. Immigrants are incredibly resilient as a whole, and I know that sounds very corny to say, but if you think about everything that's happened, and of course I'm speaking about asylum seekers because that's the population I work with, those are the people I know very well, what people have suffered in their lives to get them to a point where they felt they had to flee, and they've made it here successfully, and they've started working, legally working and everything else. They're remarkable. Most people that I have met are very religious, and their faith is a really important part of what keeps them going. And just a fierce determination. Yet we know people are in great pain, mentally in tremendous pain, and there is individual and collective stress and suffering.
Maybe the last question, Martha, if you could speak directly to ICE leadership, what would you want them to hear?
There's a lot I would say, but that's not fit for the radio. ICE leadership. Is this really the legacy that you want for yourself? Is this how you want to be remembered, as a thug, a terrorist, a bully? And if the answer is really yes, I feel really sad for you, because you are missing out on really wonderful, joyous things in life, which includes getting to know people from all over the world, from all different cultures and backgrounds. You're missing out. So please think about it, and we'd love to see all of you quit. If not, do your job in a way that causes the least harm possible.
Martha Stein, thank you for speaking with Amujambo Africa, and for the great job you do. Your inputs is incredibly helpful for understanding the situation on the ground. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate all of the work of Amujambo Africa and your network to get factual, complicated information out to both the American and immigrant community. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Ayoje Urikaneza, and this has been Amujambo Time, where the journeys and the voices of immigrants are seen, heard, and valued.
In your land, all the work in the